Welcome back, everyone, to yet another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined this week by Lonnie from the Call Me Lonnie YouTube channel. And Lonnie, you created the term point stacking in the community. Now you're creating point stretching?
Yeah, sure. Let's coin it. Point stretching TM.
Here first, folks.
And speaking of point stretching, I got my over ears on, brand new, hot off the Amazon truck with my before the 5X Amazon on the Freedom Flex ends. So I'm going to be a little bit like RJ tonight and take these things for a test drive.
There we go. And again, Easter egg for everyone else who doesn't know yet. We're also joined by RJ from DT Cards. RJ, how are you doing tonight?
I am a little under the weather tonight, so my voice is going to be a journey that we're all going to take together on this podcast.
Absolutely. And we are prepping for what might be one of the longest 24-hour stretches in the credit card world in some time. We're recording right now on Monday, June 16th. We're starting late on Monday, June 16th on the East Coast, but we are anticipating that there will be Sapphire Reserve news tomorrow. If there is, we're going to do some extra programming. I've got some programming on my channel going on. If there isn't, I'm going to look like a massive idiot. So we'll see what happens there. And then American Express decided to preemptively just step in and say, hey, we're going to do stuff this fall. They didn't tell us anything else, but hey, we got stuff coming this fall, like every company does when company X says
That is
Y.
a normal marketing move.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand why people are so shocked that Amex decided, oh, Chase is going to do something on Tuesday. Let's go ahead and say something on Monday. This happens all the time. Samsung and Apple do it every single year.
Yep.
We just saw it last week. PlayStation did their Summer Games Fest the day before Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. This is normal marketing maneuvers right here.
Oh, yeah. No, this is absolutely strong marketing.
I love the petty though. Give me more Mean Girls meets credit card. I want them to be pettier. Like I want them to be I want Amex, and if it was Amex launching tomorrow and Chase did this, I would say the same thing. It's not the Amex aficionado in me that's doing this. I genuinely want them to be more petty. Like I want Amex to find the same credit that Chase has and make it like $10 more a year. Like it's $110 for the be pettier. It's fun. It's good marketing. It gives us something to talk about. So petty that doesn't
100%.
hurt anybody is great.
Whoever runs the Wendy's Twitter account needs to be in charge of this precise moment. It's like, oh, they're going to give you a $250 credit. We're going to give you a $265 credit. That type of stuff. They're going to give you 4x. We're going to give you 5x. And 1.6 in our travel portal. That's what I want to see right now. To be completely honest, I'm right there with you, RJ.
Just don't let the Arby's social media team in the chat.
Is it Arby's or is it? I thought it was Wendy's.
No. Wendy's is amazing. Arby's is deranged.
So they're going to be the new city media managers.
US Bank, until US Bank figures out what they are or aren't. Anyway, welcome everyone to this week's episode. We're going to jump in, as always, to viewer questions. Our first question comes from MR from the Discord, who asks, please explain the recent ladder obsession. This will be real quick. For those of you who want to learn about the ladder obsession and Jason and his ladder, join the Stack Your Points Discord, link at stackyourpoints.com. You can find all about the ladder there. Our next
Jacob's
question,
ladder.
which is our first. Yeah. He can tell you. It's a really nice ladder. I'll tell you that much. Our first actual question comes from Acme Acres, who mentioned in a YouTube comment that we've been alluding to Capital One having some issues, and Lonnie's alluded to it, but didn't get into it. Lonnie, what's the problem with Capital One? What's your problem with Capital One?
The first problem is they're not for me. And the second problem is that everyone that I know that wants one can't get one. Shout out to Joe Barretto, who they just won't give them one. But I wouldn't necessarily say there's an issue of Capital One per se, like from a collective group, herd mentality whole. There's a problem with Capital One. But it is a very niche card for a very niche set of people. And usually that niche set of people are people that went to Capital One before they went to any other bank.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it is that Capital One has just changed a lot, or announced that they're about to change a lot when it comes to the Capital One Venture X. And I think, if I'm not on the right path with this question, just let me know in the Discord and we'll come attack it. But I think the question is referring to some of the negativity around their recently announced changes, specifically their lounge access, where the primary card holder would be the only person that gets into the lounge, and then everyone else would have to pay. If you had an authorized user, I believe there's an authorized user card that, like Amex Platinum, you pay the higher fee, that person can get access. And if you don't, then that person does not get access. The problem of that is that previously there were two things. One, Capital One doesn't have that many lounges out there in the first place. So they built a lounge network with a already overly sized group of card holders that they couldn't handle the capacity. That's not the consumer fault. That's your fault that you were not ready for how many people might want to show up to your lounge for free. The other aspect of it is that they put so much emphasis around these lounges, like we got these lounges, just like the Capital One cafes, where this is not a real bank, come in and hang out with us type of place. They put so much emphasis around these lounges that was a huge selling point for people to sign up for the card. One, I want to be able to get into these lounges. Before they had multiple, you can bring in multiple guests with you for no cost. And now you're taking away the foundation. You're taking away the reason why people came and signed up for your card. This is like Dairy Queen saying, we don't make ice cream no more. That's the only reason why we came here. Now, I will say that it's not necessarily a bad card. Everyone that I know has a card has always said this is one of the top tier premium travel cards, especially if you're a person that counts into effective annual fee, because you have that travel portal credit that you could use. Something else that has recently changed, because you could use it on anything. Then a couple of years ago, they changed it to you only had to use it in the travel portal, and people still stuck around. But it was always about the lounges, because even though I would say there's a lot of people that will talk about transferring their points out, most people get their $300 travel portal credit and then sock drawer that card. From my experiences and conversations that I've had for people with the card. After that, it's like, I don't really use it for anything. Yeah, it gets 2x on everything, but to those transfer partners, you can get the majority of those transfer partners and other cards in which you can get better bonus categories and all these other things. So it's like, yeah, it gets 2x on everything, but you don't really use it. Very similar to Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant. It gets 2x on everything, but you never hear anyone say, this is my catch-all card, because it gets 2x on everything. Granted, Capital One points, Marriott points, two separate things. We don't need to get into it. My issue with the Capital One card is a two-pronged approach. One, I think they shot themselves in the foot when it comes to their total addressable market, the big piece of the pie in which people are enticed and used and went to Capital One. They just shot all those people in the foot, which is a bad thing. The other aspect of it is now you are disservicing yourself in a very competitive market, especially in the lounge market. Granted, lounges are at capacity. United clubs are not. So don't nobody else sign up for a United club unless you use my referral link. But don't no one else come up in there, because they're not as crowded as an Amex lounge or a Capital One lounge. Allegedly, I've never been in one. A Sapphire lounge, once again, allegedly, I've actually never stepped foot in one. But just based on the conversations that we have, these are the types of places that are always packed. Now, I can say Amex Centurion lounges. I've walked away from Centurion lounges before because they are so packed. When you think of it in that manner, if you built a business model on that and you took that away but didn't replace it with anything, that's a problem. You just created a problem for your own business. And all of these annual fee contracts are 12 months. So unless that gets fixed, and we already know because they've already announced this change is coming, how many people, just type it in on YouTube, look in the community, look in the Discord, how many people are like, I'm getting rid of my Capital One Venture X card? Or in some cases, they already have. I saw somebody in the Discord today. Maybe it was Joe Barretto's Discord, but anyway, I saw someone in Discord today that was like, I already downgraded mine and they prorated back my annual fee. Like, people are already, they're not 1 foot out the door. They are out of the door. And that's a problem, because they changed the business that brought people in and then said, we already got you, but you got to remember, we can always leave. We can always leave. So now Capital One is the ice cream machine at McDonald's. It's just broken. It's always broken, in my opinion. Doesn't work.
They'll get a tech in next Wednesday, they say. No, that makes sense. RJ, any follow up on your end? You're a former VentureX holder.
I'm a former VentureX holder. I think
Perfect example.
I think yeah, I think one of the biggest problems is the bucketing of people. So like you'll get $1,000 limit on a saver card and never be able to get a higher limit on that card, but then you'll apply for the VentureX and get 15 or 20,000. Right? Like people get very annoyed at some of the games that Capital One plays. It's really hard if you have, even if you aren't a churner, but you're somebody who has several other credit cards, it's very hard to get a Capital One credit card. For having 18 flavors of the Quicksilver, they're hard cards to get sometimes. So I think that turns people off. Like, people don't want to wait 12 to 24 months to get a Venture X, right? They don't want to deal with that. Some cards are worth it. People used to do that for the Altitude Reserve with US Bank because that card had the mobile wallet category and the real-time rewards and all of that. But the Venture X doesn't have that. It does have some really cool features, and if you're one of the 3 lounges or 4 lounges, however many they have now, it is helpful. 5. I was in the ballpark. It's helpful that if that's your home airport, great, right? But it's such a small percentage that unless you're flying in and out of those airports, it really doesn't make sense to begin with. And now it makes less sense if you ever fly with your family. So
Yeah.
I think Capital One is in a weird position. I do think in the next year or two, we're going to see differences in how Capital One does business because of the Discover merger, because they seem to want to go in a different position. But until they stop giving people $1,000 credit limits on cards and never letting them actually get a better limit, they're going to be on that sort of B tier as far as overall credit cards go versus like an Amex or a Chase. Even Bank of America, which sort of is playing in a different sandbox, but I would say that overall they're on that same level.
Yeah, but Capital One is 2 or 3 banks in one. There's the bank that is the subprime lender that is, here's your bucket and live in your bucket. There's the, oh, we actually should have people who are outside of subprime lending because it's a good idea to diversify your customer base. And so those are the folks who are getting like the Quicksilver for good for excellent credit. They're getting the Saver for excellent credit. They're qualifying for a Venture X. Like they're getting those welcome offers. And their life is pretty okay. And then you got like the super prime users that like are the sort of aspirational users that the Venture X was designed for. And like they invited a good number of them in at the very beginning. And now they want to start catering to that crowd. But because the other two groups are so large and they have mismanaged isn't the right word, but they haven't handled things properly. And so, like, now they have 2 very big groups of customers that they want to keep, and the subprime folks are profitable to Capital One. They are not necessarily the most profitable of customers in terms of paying their annual fees, paying your statements off on time and in full. They are the folks who are driving some of the other engines for the folks further up the chain. Now, every bank has those customers. I'm not saying that Chase doesn't have customers like that. Wells Fargo, Bank of America doesn't have customers like that. But that is a big group of customers for our Capital One. So they are 3 banks in one. The recent changes that were announced to the Venture X are not helpful for their expansion of that card. And if you're going to become a more if you're going to move upscale with your clientele, not being able to bring guests into the lounge is not necessarily the message you want to send, especially if you can say, oh, you can bring as many people as you want, how often as you want, if you put $75,000 through the card. Like American Express can get away with that because American Express has a certain cachet in terms of mind share. And that is outside of the credit card community. Like American Express is considered like a luxury brand. It's not really, but it's considered a luxury brand. Much Apple is considered a luxury brand. It's not really. Much Coach and Louis Vuitton are luxury brands. But They are not.
Louis Vuitton doesn't have an outlet, so
Louis Vuitton does not have an outlet. Louis Vuitton resale is a bit better than some of the others. I've fallen down like the luxury brand rabbit hole a little bit. There's a guy.
I'm just saying I wouldn't put Coach in the luxury.
No, but
Not to interrupt you, I'm just saying I
Coach
wouldn't put Coach.
aspires. Yves Saint Laurent. All right, YSL. How about that?
There you go. Just not Coach. I would have put Coach in the same bucket
Burberry.
as Gucci and Louis.
They're all getting pirated anyway.
Ain't that
mercilessly. Anyway, so as Capital One is trying to move its mind share from regular bank to luxury bank, they're taking steps that are not necessarily unnecessary, but they're taking steps that are anathema to what they're trying to do. And closing off the lounges to guests is not going to help them. Even like the fact that they went to no guests, like the main cardholder not even being able to bring a guest, is a huge issue to me. I have a family of 3. Like I now have to get 2 cards and I still have to pay an extra $25 a pop or get an authorized user fee and use that and pay a user fee to get lounge access for the 3rd member of my party. No. Like Lonnie would have the same thing. Like he would either have to get 2 cards or pay an extra $250 on top of the $395, and that's before any possible changes that may come to the Capital One Venture X, because the Sapphire Reserve is coming up on 5 years since its last refresh. The Platinum card is coming up on 5 years since its last refresh. Guess what? The Venture X launched in 2021. 2026 is 5 years. It's due for an upgrade or retooling next year.
Yeah. Also, United Club Infinite takes care of the whole family. So just gonna go ahead and plug them again. One price, y'all. One price, and the whole family can get in. The other thing to add on to what you were saying there, Matt, is the simplicity. And I would think I would actually say the Capital Venture X is one of the last simple cards that's out there. When I define simple, it doesn't have a lot of bonus categories. It doesn't have a lot of perks, bells, whistles. It's just use this card this way, and you don't have to worry about this credit every single month, and this one every single quarter, and this one at the first half of the year, and this one at the back half of the year. It just, we give you this, we give you that, and it's like, boom, everything else is taken care of. And the thing is, if you're gonna do simple, you have to knock simple out of the park.
Yes.
I mean, there is no room for error on simple. And when they did simple, they just shot themselves in the foot, because their lounge access part, and I'm not huge on lounges. I'm really not. And I know we're probably going to get into that a little bit later today, not to foreshadow anything. But when that's your main selling feature, when you go to the A&W fast food spot, you want root beer. When you go to Nathan's, you want hot dogs. When you go to Auntie Anne's, you want pretzels. If, like, straight up, if you can't get that right, you lost your consumer base. And that's what I feel like they've done.
Yeah. Now, it wasn't marketed as a
Now, who wants to go to the mall with me?
Right here. I'll go look for a Wetzel's.
Can you have a Wetzel's? No, do they have gluten-free Wetzel's, or are you just going to suffer?
No. I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to go get the Wetzel's. I'm going to go get overpriced and painful bourbon chicken. What are you talking about? All Chinese places are the only places I know of that sell bourbon chicken. There's no other Chinese place that I've ever been to that does bourbon chicken outside of a mall. I might be wrong. Let me know down in the comments. But
I just had an epiphany. You are 100% correct.
You want bourbon chicken, you're going to a mall. Anyway, so I'll join you at the mall. Yeah, no, it's an interesting play that they've done. I don't necessarily think it's a great play. Also, like, the biggest difference between the Venture and the Venture X was the Venture X had lounge access. The Venture X had higher status at with Hertz President Circle. That's all going to still be true, but you killed a card that was like really great for families, and you haven't shown what's next for it, what the alternative will be. It's just going to be everybody who's the primary card holder now gets to go into the lounge, and it's still not going to solve lounge crowding, because nothing solves lounge crowding. The only thing that solves lounge crowding, bigger lounges,
more space.
Yep.
More lounges or more space. That's it.
Yep.
I don't think any credit card is currently trying to solve for that. Maybe Amex with their Centurion Lounge. I will actually give them credit in this regard. First off, can we please finally remodel and update the San Francisco Amex Centurion Lounge? Just going to go ahead and put it there. The other aspect, I'm just saying, can we finally get it done?
Oh,
it needs more than a fresh coat of paint right now, especially when you go to some of the bigger ones like on the East Coast right at the moment. Anyway, neither here nor there. But I will give Amex their credit, and I think they are the one card lounge that is trying to solve for that by saying we are not just building new lounges, we are building larger lounges.
I will definitely give American Express that. Chase's answer seems to be, oh, we've got brand partners. They've got lounges. You can go in their lounges.
Look, technically, Chase doesn't have a lounge. They have a partner that has a lounge, and they put the Sapphire name on it.
Yes, and that partner could get bought by anyone at any time, which will just be hilarious for me. But like the Chase Sapphire Lounge there's only so many of them. Chase is working with Air Canada. Chase has priority passes. I'm sure Chase would love to expand to other co-branded partners that they issue cards for, like British Airways, or who knows, United. I doubt United, but British Airways. So they're working on it in a couple of different ways, but like bigger lounges are always going to be the answer to lounge crowding. And reservation systems. And Chase, if you can just get rid of your stupid let any other priority pass member in, that will help you too. Anyway, so Capital One, it's just not great. All right, we're going to go to our next question. Comes from Keith, who asks, what is the stack your points definition of a catch-all? And can it have foreign transaction fees? Does it have to be accepted at almost all merchants? Main questions: what is your current catch-all, and what do you think is the best catch-all on the market, even if you do not have that card? And is there a popular catch-all that you think is underrated? If so, why? So, RJ, I'll throw to you on this one first.
So I think when it comes to acceptability of cards, that is mostly not a problem for any of the four major networks. There are the oddballs that won't take a Discover or an Amex, but even in my sort of rural location, that is not really a problem anymore. There is only one place I can think of that I have gone in the last 10 to 15 years that has not taken Discover or Amex, and they are very much a mom and pop place, so I'm not entirely surprised, but it's just not really an issue. Now, internationally is different, but that's not really the focus for most people when it comes to a catch-all. There is also Costco, but again, that is an edge case. That's not a main catch-all. As far as what my definition is, it is a card that is not 1x, right? It's 1.5, ideally 2x, in whatever system you want to earn points passively. And what I mean by passively is like catch-alls are, by their definition, non-category. So that can cover a wide variety of things. So that's how I would personally define it. Foreign transaction fees, ideally, no. Something like the Blue Business Plus does have foreign transaction fees, but I also know that, so I just wouldn't catch all it for something that I know is going to have a foreign transaction fee unless I know it's not going to be an issue. If I'm buying something that's $20, I'm probably not going to get too bent out of shape. If I'm buying something that's 2,000, more shape to be bent out of. So there's that. As far as what I use as my catch-all, in my setup when I'm not working a sub, it's the Hilton Business because it's 5x on everything. Most of my points from Amex are going to Hilton or Delta, more Hilton than Delta, just because of how points work. So earning it straight on the Hilton doesn't bother me. I know others who will never use a co-brand as their catch-all. That's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with it. So yeah, I think catch-alls are something that people overthink. Like whatever your preferred system is, get the 2x or the 1.5 in that system and earn in that system and be happy. I don't think we need the best on the market is the one in the system that you're in, because that is the one that's going to earn you points in the system you want to be earned in. So that's what I have there.
Thank you very much, RJ. Lonnie, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I almost had to take notes for all the sub questions in this question. So let's start at the top. So my definition of a catch-all card is whatever card that you want to use for the all other purchase categories. And that just means, as RJ mentioned, whatever you're going to maximize the most points in that all other purchase. So it can be like a Freedom Unlimited at 1.5. It can be Adventure X. It can be a hotel card that gets 3X or 2X, depending on which hotel card you have. But for me, I would like to consider a catch-all card almost the same way that I consider a dining program, where my catch-all card is whatever points that I need, because it's not just, oh, I got to spend this. What card am I going to put it on? I know I'm just going to put it on this one. No, you've heard me say this before. Points have to have a purpose and an exit strategy. And so if I am working on building up points for a Marriott stay, then my catch-all is going to go towards Marriott, or a partner in which I can transfer to Marriott, like a Chase or a Bilt in that manner. If I'm looking at Chase points, then my catch-all is probably going to be my Freedom Unlimited, because it's the one Chase card that's going to get me the most out in public once I'm outside of the house per swipe, versus like online MacGyvering, point stacking, or whatever. Does it have to have, or can it have foreign transaction fees? It can. It doesn't necessarily have to have them, but it can. The Freedom Unlimited doesn't have foreign transaction fees. And like I just said, that's a catch-all card. That's the one card I use at Costco, because it's the one Visa card that gets me the most. Does it have to be accepted at almost all merchants? I would also say no to that. Actually, I hate to do this to you guys, but we're going to have to pause the edit. And someone's going to have to edit this out because my dog wants to get out of this. And we're back. Now, does it have to be accepted at almost all merchants? Now, I am actually going to take a slightly different approach than RJ on this one, because when I travel internationally, then that's when I need the foreign transaction fees. And very similar to what you were saying about like mom and pop shops, which are some of my most favorite places to go when I travel, they don't necessarily take American Express. I've been on many cruise ports where American Express is not accepted. I've been to many countries where American Express is not. It might be accepted in like the downtown district where I'm staying at in my hotel, but then in the local area, the city next, or when I'm trying to see other parts of the country, absolutely not. And so that actually changes my catch-all, even from my Freedom Unlimited all the way down to something like my United card or Chase Sapphire Reserve, where I'm only going to get one because it's Visa and I know it can be accepted there. Now, next question, keeps the question. What's my current catch-all card, and what do I think is the best catch-all card on the market, even if I don't have it? I will, going back to my answer, my two main catch-all cards right now are my Hilton Aspire card. One is because I am very close to getting that 30K free night certificate, and I am going Hilton heavy in 2025, and maybe my first personal trip in 2026. You go to Hilton's website and look at any of their premium hotel brands, like a Conrad or a Waldorf. Those things can be like 200,000 points, 300,000 points, 600,000 points, sometimes even 1,000,000 points a night. And so I want to get as many points as possible. And at the same time, I can get a little bit closer to that 60K, preferably, hopefully by the end of the year. I get an extra free night certificate when I get my annual fee free night certificate, giving me 3 all at once, if that makes sense. So that's currently one. If it's a Visa card, my Freedom Unlimited. But like I said, it just depends on what I'm working on. If I realize I have enough Hilton points, I might switch it to my IHG card, where I'm getting 3 IHG points instead. Who knows? Is there a popular catch-all that I think is overrated? Not really. I would say like some of the high-end cashback cards, if anything. But I don't like the overrated part, because it's not really overrated just because it might be popular, or just it might work for a small niche of people. That just goes down to the person that has to use it. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, then you should be doing something about it. Maybe you're not fully educated on what could be working for you, but I wouldn't necessarily use overrated. There's nothing wrong with any of them. Someone would probably say the Freedom Unlimited is overrated. I don't necessarily think so, but it just depends on how you use it. Get 1.5 and transfer it to a card that gets me additional 1.5 in their travel portal is not overrated. That's just a smart move in my opinion. So that's the way that I would look at that.
All makes sense. And as long as that additional 1.5 is still standing in 24 hours, it should be. I'm reasonably certain it will. Lonnie, you muted yourself.
Look, there's two things that they should not take away. One is the 1.5 in the travel portal for when you redeem your points, and the $300 travel credit. Now, I know the latter of the two has not been in the rumors or whatnot, but I'm standing on my business. I will worry about it when it's officially announced, and then I will make my judgment at that point.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah, for definition for a catch-all, it is going to be that card that is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for all other spend, because you can't match all of your spend to all of you can't put all of your spend on 3 select cards. We wish we could, but that's not always going to be the case unless you have the US Bank Altitude Reserve and you can Apple Cash or Apple Pay everything. The likelihood of that now, not very high, because you can't get an Altitude Reserve in its current iteration anyway. And that card can't come back a third time. Much like hockey in Atlanta, you can't do it 3 times. Just my opinion. Anyway, can it have foreign transaction fees? It can. The foreign transaction fees are going to be another way for the banks to be able to help their bottom line. That's why the Freedom Unlimited has a foreign transaction fee. That's why the Active Cash has a foreign transaction fee. That's why most of them will have foreign transaction fees. Like, you can pay for no foreign transaction fees with catch-alls like the IHG Premier, like the Hilton Surpass or the Hilton Honors Business Card. You can look into the occasional no foreign transaction fee catch-all card, but you're looking then at the Fidelity Rewards card, which is a really nice card for no annual fee. That's great. But like, how is that fitting your travel purposes if you're someone who's going like heavy into points and miles? Like, yes, you can make back the 2% and then maybe siphon that 2% over to purchasing some points, depending on how much money you spent. I don't think your return on spend on that is going to be particularly high. There's also the PNC 2% card, but like, nobody banks a PNC, or nobody really uses PNC cards for foreign travel. Like, it's a nice niche for that card to fill, but until PNC gets into travel, not a whole lot of us are going to be going after that card necessarily. Can it have foreign transaction fees? Yeah, the foreign transaction fees are going to feed into being able to afford other parts of the program, unfortunately. Just a fact of life. Does it have to be accepted at almost all merchants? In the United States, unless my catch-all card is a Union Pay or Diners Club card, I can't really see why my card wouldn't get accepted anywhere, aside from a place being cash only, the network being down, or they have a grudge against American Express. Those are the only 3 reasons I can think of. Or I somehow have a Union Pay card, or my catch-all card is a Diners Club card. In which case, what am I doing on this podcast? I'm kidding. My current catch-all card, I have 2. My personal one is going to be the Wells Fargo Active Cash. My partner's, which she's an authorized user on, is the Chase Freedom Unlimited. So she uses the Chase, I use the Wells. Go from there. Do I think they're the best catch-all cards in the market, even if what do I think is the best catch-all card on the market, even if I don't have it? I'm going to take the hard right turn of a hotel card can do a lot for you as a catch-all card. The IHG Premier, with everything that it offers, is a really strong catch-all card at 3x IHG points. If you pay the 150 and take off the foreign transaction fees, the Hilton Surpass is a really strong catch-all card. Even if you are not if you don't worry about the foreign transaction fees, the Hilton Honors card, really strong catch-all card, 3x points across the board. So you're good there. I think those are some of the best options for you in the points and miles game if you're looking for points and miles in specific programs. Is there a popular catch-all that you think is overrated? If so, why? I don't think any of them are necessarily overrated. I think they all have their pros and cons, right? The Active Cash has foreign transaction fees, but it's a 2% card. You can move your 2% cash back to the autograph relatively easily. Double Cash, 2% catch-all card, foreign transaction fees. You get 1% when you make the purchase, 1% when you pay your bill. That's the silly nature of that's the silly selling point of the card that's been around forever at this point. But it works. City's fairly popular. And you can pool those points over to the City Strata Premier and transfer out your points if you're into the points and miles game, or you can cash them out at a penny per point. Really helpful. The Quicksilver, no foreign transaction fees. That's cool, but it's capped at 1.5%. So that sucks. Is what it is. Freedom Unlimited. 1.5% annoying, but you can pair it with the Sapphire Preferred to make it 1.883, and you can pair it with the Sapphire Reserve to make it 2.25. 2.25 is more than 2. So you get going pretty well there. I don't think they're overrated. I think they're all sufficiently rated, but it's going to depend on what ecosystem you want to be in. I'm not using American Express because the best option I have for a membership reward or point earning card as a catch-all is the Blue Business Plus. And unless you're someone who knows they can activate a business card or is fearless about activating a business card, that is an option for you. But if you are not someone who wants to go down that path, even though American Express gives them out like candy, I don't want to count that, just to be fair to the other issuers, because no other issuer relies on a business card to be its catch-all card across the board. American Express, you'd be wise to just put out some sort of catch-all on the membership point rewards earning personal side, on the personal membership rewards earning side. So thanks, Keith. We'll move over to the next question. It comes from Kirby G, who says, would love to hear the team discuss this question I had with a few other credit card enthusiasts. Would you rather fly to Asia or Europe directly in premium economy or fly business with a medium long layover? Personally, I'd choose premium economy, but could see others disagreeing. So I'm going to take the first stab at this. First of all, where in Asia, Europe am I flying? If I'm flying to Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, I'll live with premium economy. If I'm flying to Dubrovnik, I would like to be in business. If I'm flying to Ankara, I would like to be in business. And I can go further from Ankara to destinations in Asia and have a free stay in Istanbul as part of my flight. I'm doing business on all that leg. Depends on where I'm going, where I'm flying from. I'd be originating from JFK. If it's anywhere in Western Europe, I think I could survive. I would survive in premium economy. I get more leg space. I have some recline. It's not as bad as basic economy in the US. So like I could live with premium economy there. If I'm flying beyond like Greece, I want business class if I'm flying from JFK. And if I'm going the other way, I want business class the entire time. Layovers, no layovers. I would prefer direct flights, but if I gotta do a layover, I'll do the layover. It's fine. I'll find a lounge. I'll eat my cookie and a sad salad. Actually, I can't even have the dang cookies. I'll find a sad salad and a Jello or something.
There's always Italian dressing and balsamic. There's always balsamic. That's how you know. That's how you know it's a sad salad bar. When those two are
oil and vinegar.
Shredded carrots as a topping, it's a sad salad bar.
Yay. Avoid the croutons. Not being able to process wheat properly has been a hindrance on my life now for far too long. If somebody could fix that, please do. Not the highest medical priority, but it's up there for me. Lonnie, how would you approach this?
Man, I hate hypotheticals like this because I want to take a direct flight every chance that I get, period. I don't care if it has a nice layover in some ritzy, glitzy, super duper airport. Sparrow's route, straight line, get me there. Now, to go back to the question, I'm very much like you, Matt. I'm going to take business class, and I've actually done this. So this is non-hypothetical. This is true nonfiction here. I have actually booked flights that have had layovers because I got business class the entire way. Where I'm like, I'll put it like this: the main factor is price.
Yep.
If the price is right and I got the time, then yeah, I'll take the layover. Especially like when you think of, like as you had mentioned, or in the question, Asia and Europe don't really have layovers for me to go into Asia. Europe, I can. In most cases, I try to get a layover EWR in Newark, that is. And if not, it's in Frankfurt. Yeah. Two great airports that I know inside and out, so it's not that big of a deal to have a layover there. But premium economy, I'll try to avoid, and that's only because of my height. I won't sit regular economy or economy plus on a long haul flight, and that's because I got to kick some legs out. Premium economy can give you that airplane Charlie horse, but once again, it comes down to price. If business class costs $6,000 more than premium economy, I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to pull that, even if it's for myself. I don't want to pay $15,000 for a business class seat where I can get a premium economy for $1,000. That just doesn't make sense for me. Even when using points, I'm not going to burn my points for that. Heaven forbid if I'm paying for 3 for my family. No, we're not. We are not going 45K to get to the other side of the world. We're just not going to do that in points or in actual dollars. We're just not going to do that. Yep. And so then, yeah, I would 100% take premium economy and cross my fingers that my status would get us to the front. And no, there is no I get to the front and my family stays behind. It's all or nothing. So we're all sitting in the front or we're all not sitting in the front. That's just personally how I do it. I'm that type of father figure and husband, if you will. So hopefully that answers. I want to take direct as much as possible, but the difference between premium economy and business for me comes down to price. If I'm on a corporate card, even on the corporate card, I do get budgets and they're like, we're not paying 15K for you to fly first class. And yeah, I've flown to Spain on a business trip in premium economy, 12 hours. Wasn't great, but I wasn't about to pay the difference. Yeah. So,
and this is where solo traveler versus family can also play a pretty big role, because solo traveler, it's 45,000 points. That's no big deal. I've got a stash of 350,000. Sweet. Yes, that's for yourself. But now multiply it by 3 and you're paying 135,000 points. Yeah, out of 350.
Yeah, that 187K point or mile flight just hits differently when you're flying solo. You're like, sure, that's fine. But when it's 187 times 3, like, y'all,
yep.
You're sitting window, I'm sitting aisle.
And that's one way. That's one way. That's 45K one way. How are you getting home? Because you're not going to have enough points. Better hope there's a great purchase bonus or transfer bonus. RJ, you are someone who lives the layover life. I'm certain I know your answer, but you flying to Asia or Europe, not necessarily in the cards usually, but how do you approach it?
I'm flying business or first class, or I'm not going on the trip. If it's not in the budget, I'm just not going. Like, flat out, not an option. I am not going to spend multiple hours of my trip uncomfortable simply to get there. I am not at that stage of my life where I find that to be an acceptable trade-off. Some people will also stay in an Airbnb with 3 bedrooms for 12 people. You do that, you have all of the fun in the world. That is not the life I have. That is not the desires of which I have. So if I can't do business class or first class because it's some stupid number, I'm just not going. If I want to go domestically and it's a stupid high price and I don't have the points or I don't want to use the points or whatever, I'm not going to go. I'm going to pick a different destination. There is no option where I'm not towards the front of the plane. There's just not. Like, it's not an option. It's like those seats do not exist for me. Now, again, I usually am traveling solo when it comes to stuff like this. So I have that ability to just be like, yeah, you know what? I was going to go to Seattle for this trip. I'm going to go to Portland instead because it's cheaper. Like, I have the ability to do things like that because I'm not consulting with others. I don't have a child that I have to make sure is reasonably cared for. I don't have to deal with that. So for me, it's always going to be business class or first class. I also cannot fly anywhere without a layover unless I'm going to LaGuardia, Atlanta, or Detroit. Those are the 3 places I can fly to directly. Everything outside of those 3 places requires a layover. So I don't know how I would get to Europe and or Asia without taking a multi-hour car ride and then taking a flight to begin with. So there's no way for me to fly from my home airport without 2 layovers to get to Europe. I would have to go to LaGuardia and then Boston or Atlanta or Detroit and then go over versus drive. Like, I could drive to Boston, but that's also 5 hours to get to Boston. And then I have to deal with after the flight flying home and probably have to get a hotel at least one of those days, if not both of those days with the drive. So it's even though I could do a positioning flight, it's actually more expensive to do positioning flights from where I am. And that is a specific to being in a regional airport versus being, both of you are more city dwellers than I am. If I had the option of JFK or LaGuardia or Newark, that would make things different. I do not live at that part of New York City that part of New York. I live in the part where there is black bears and bobcats and coyotes and hillbillies. That is the part of New York of which I live.
Probably be easier to just drive north, cross the border, and fly out of Montreal.
I don't really want to cross an international border at the moment, but probably in a world without that issue, it would probably be.
That's fair.
The Adirondack Northway, for the 4 people listening to this podcast who know what the Adirondack Northway is a lovely drive after you get up past 21, 22 and are away from everything, but it is the most boring 2.5 hours. You better have a strong Spotify playlist downloaded or podcast because you're going to lose signal too. So if you're going to take that drive, it's beautiful, but dear God, are you going to be bored out of your mind?
Michael Lewis audiobooks is my answer there. Flash Boys, Flash Crash, Moneyball. Moneyball's a weird book. Anyway, we'll go on to our next question. It comes from JC, who asks, have any of you on the panel purchased points strategically for an upcoming redemption or to meet a welcome offer? Hilton and IHG are both having limited time point sales with 100% bonus. Let me just say, it's not limited time. It's literally every other month with Hilton. Like, Hilton does this limited time 100% bonus 8 times a year. Like, it lapses and it's, oh, that lapsed. Just keep it rolling. So you can always jump on that 100% bonus. Now, have I purchased points strategically for an upcoming redemption? I purchased points in anticipation of doing some redemptions. When I first got my Chase Sapphire Reserve, one of the first purchases I made as part of me working the welcome offer, didn't complete the welcome offer, didn't do the full spend to do the welcome offer. I bought points at Hyatt. I think there was like a 20% bonus when I purchased points at Hyatt, but it was to like kickstart my Hyatt account and help me with one of my first point stays. I didn't buy a ton of points, but it was just like oh, hey, this could help my welcome offer. This gets me in the door. Go from there. I have done those sorts of purchases. I don't begrudge anyone who does those sorts of purchases. I'm just going to tell you my only advice would be to stack those purchases using Cashback Monitor. Go through Cashback Monitor. If Rakuten's a good option for you, it's only 1.25%, so it's not great, but it 1.25x membership reward points. Top Cashback is my top option for that because you get 2.5% cashback on top of that. And Rove is now a new option to get Rove miles at 1.3x Rove miles per dollar spent on points, depending on what group you're looking to buy points from. Yeah. RJ, have you ever purchased points strategically as part of a welcome offer or for any upcoming redemptions?
I have. I tend not to be a point buyer. My brain does not like the buying of points. My brain likes the acquiring of points through me spending on other things. That's just how I work. But I have bought points in the past. How I tend to buy points is actually when you're doing a Hilton redemption. If you don't have enough points, the last screen will be like, "Hey, do you want to buy 50,000 points because you're 50,000 short?" And I'll be like, "Yep, just click this button," and it auto buys the point as you're checking out. That is how I've bought nearly every point that I've ever bought, is just using that feature at the end of Hilton. So it's very rare for me to flat out just go to buypoints.com or whatever it is and buy points that way.
Nope, makes sense. Lonnie, you've taken some other strategies with point purchases. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have a 2-part answer to this. And the first part is very similar to RJ. No, because that's why I went into figuring out this Rubik's Cube algorithm of point stacking so I would never have to buy points. Boom. Because I was able to find a way to get so many points, there was never necessarily a need to buy them. Now, flip that coin over to the other side. I recently, for science, did just buy points a while ago. And I did it because I had never done it before. and I wanted to see one, what that experience is like. Now, the purchase experience is pretty simple. Select your points, put in your credit card information, and hit buy. Not for that part of the experience, but the other part of it of when you get that amount of points that soon, once again, purpose and the exit strategy. So I am a person that maxed out and took advantage of the Hilton 100%. I spent whatever the $2,000 was and got 500,000 points. But I already knew my exit strategy. I just mentioned it 10 minutes ago. I'm Hilton heavy in 2025 and early 2026. So I know there's an exit strategy. That's the other aspect. The other thing was when you really break down the math, even for someone like me that can optimize every dollar that I spend, and I have, one of the reasons why I got the Hilton Aspire card in December of 2024, and I'm murdering that thing. I am running so much cash through it right now where I'm accruing so many points through it. But the thing is that to get 500,000 points, and I'm just going to use the regular 3x, just the all other purchase category. It is so much more, makes more financial sense just to buy the points to get to that 500,000 than anything else. Now, there's a million and one ways and reasons to buy points. If you wanted to help hit your sign up bonus, I think that's a great way to do it.
Yep.
You just got hit. You just committed to $6,000. You got to spend $6,000 no matter what at that point, or you're going to miss your welcome bonus. They're going to give you a welcome bonus. And then what if you double dip that, especially on something like a hotel or airline card? Because United does the same types of things that hotels do. I know we're talking hotels right now, but go get your Hilton card. And then even if it's the white honors one, that where you have to spend $3,000, you spent $2,000, and boom, you more than double the annual fee, the welcome bonus, that is. You've actually gotten more points for that $2,000 than you'll get from spending the $3,000. And that's the other aspect of it, is sometimes it makes better financial sense. And I think I've mentioned this before. I've definitely mentioned in my members only video that when they do these point offers of 50%, 80%, 100%, you can actually come out ahead, especially if you're in Amex pop-up jail, by not going with the welcome bonus and just say, I'll accept the card and just go buy the points. You'll actually end up with more points than what you'll get ultimately in the welcome bonus. A great one right now outside of Hilton would be Marriott, who I think is only doing a 40% bonus right now. But if you went and got the Bonvoy Brilliant card, you got to spend $6,000 to get 100,000 points and another $2,000 to get the extra, or $3,000 to get an extra 50 points or something like that. It's a total 8,000 points within a certain amount of time to get 150,000 points, Marriott points. For less than $2,000, you can get over 200,000 Marriott points. Sounds like a better deal to me. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it. Granted, the foundation is make sure you got an exit strategy. Just don't be out there unless you got money to burn. Don't just be out there all willy-nilly without an exit strategy, because you could put yourself in a weird devalue. How am I going to burn these? How am I going to use them? Man, I really want to stay at Conrad, but now I have 500,000 Marriott point situation. So make sure you have an exit strategy. That's the only caveat that I'll put on this. The only asterisk that I will put. But even so far for myself, like I said, for science, and yes, I will be making a video about this experience of I bought 500,000 Hilton Honors points, the whole rigmarole of why I did it, the whole story behind it will be coming soon. Can't say how soon. I haven't even started writing it yet, but I am planning on making a video about that. It can work and it can make sense where even at this point, even though I haven't redeemed those points yet, I have already began looking like this might be something that I want to do. Will I do it across Hilton, Marriott, IHG, my 3 hotel cards? Probably not. But would I potentially pick one hotel a year and just maybe not max out, but buy points? I can actually see myself doing it again. I think so far, it does make sense in certain situations. And I would say the main situation is you want to save money. Instead of spending the card as intended, point stacking, catch-all, whatever you want to do, there is a shorter path through the back alley. It's called buying points.
Yep.
Where you'll save money and get the same or more than what you would actually spend trying to get that same amount of points just by buying new headphones. Who knows?
If
Pointing at
you
myself here.
if you do cashback, buying points makes a lot of sense instead of the welcome bonuses on the travel cards. Like that is, I think that is the sweet spot for most people who buy points is to do cashback and then because you're not getting the sign up bonuses from Hilton or Amex and stuff. So if you're a cashback person,
Yeah.
buying points makes a ton of sense.
And I think you hit a nail on the head, and that's one of the science parts that I'm also going to go into deeper when I finally write said video, once I like collect all my thoughts and data, if you will, is that when you buy points, you can buy points with whatever card you want. You can buy Hilton points with your Marriott card. Nobody cares. They just want their money, and the bank wants you to pay it on time. Actually, they don't, because they want you to pay interest, but neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Use whatever card you want. And that could even, as RJ had mentioned, be an extra notch in your belt on this is actually more financially beneficial for me than just trying to spend my card on regular things, trying to accrue all those points. Just go get them. Just literally go pick them up.
Yep. Yeah. So thanks everyone on that one. And our last question comes from Delano Fries, who asks, given some of Chase's moves and rumored moves recently and the potential coupon-y Saver X that was rumored, any predictions on whether couponization or brand partnerships across Capital One, Citi, and Wells Fargo? Lonnie, I'll ask real quick, bowing out on this one. Do you see any potential partnerships there?
I am not going to bow out on this one.
Take it away.
I'm not going to say there's going to be partnerships. So I'm not going to talk about the Capital One, the Citi, or the Wells Fargo part.
Sure.
This whole couponization, these brand partnerships, that stuff, if it's not here, it's here to stay. If it's not on the way, it's like your Uber is about to pick you up. It's coming. And if these cards, especially these brands that are not Chase and Amex, if they want a fighting chance in this game, they're gonna have to get into it. And let me tell you why. Because you can look at this in a bifurcated way. The first way is Chase and Amex are hypothetically, allegedly about to put themselves in a different tax bracket when it comes to annual fees and the type of consumers that they want to engage with, where it's going to be a lot harder for someone in their early 20s, fresh out of college, probably to get some of these higher annual fee top tier cards. Not from a financial standpoint, it's just you're not the market that Chase and Amex are going to want in the next year or two, which means that's going to open up the doors for the same market of people to go to Capital One, Citi, and Wells Fargo, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The bad part is those people are eventually, over time, making proper financial decisions, being good adults, and whatever else you want to say, are going to eventually end up as the desired Chase Amex consumer. And if Capital One, Citi, Wells Fargo don't prime that pump, don't prepare them for that jump into the Chase Amex world, that's going to shoot them in the foot. So they need to play ball. They need to get into it. And the sad part is Amex has created an ecosystem of this type of coupon world. We see Chase jumping into the same type of coupon world, even without, whenever you're listening to this, without the new Sapphire reserve, Chase is already getting themselves inside of that coupon world. We can all agree on that.
Yep.
It's just going to get deeper. And it's one of those things where when, like, you're just thinking of the tech industry. You remember when phones were only like new phones were like $500 full retail, and now they're well over $1,000. Wait until Apple says, hey, we're going to make a $2,000 phone. And guess what? Samsung's going to turn right around and make $1,999 phone. And then Google's going to do the same thing with their Pixel. It's just one of those things that's going to happen. Chase and Amex are being that iOS ecosystem right now, where if Citi and Capital One and Wells Fargo want to stay relevant and not turn into a LG, I'm really getting to tech nerdiness now, they have to play ball. They have to. You saw what happened with BlackBerry saying, hey, we don't need apps. Where's BlackBerry now? They have to play ball.
Yep. Remember user replaceable batteries on cell phones? That was nice.
Also, a Galaxy Z Fold 6 for 512 gigabytes is $2,019.99. So we have crossed the premium. Yeah, we have crossed the premium smartphone being over $2,000. Now, a Fold is more of a niche than like the S25 Ultra or whatever, but yeah, when Apple releases their folding phone probably next year after, we might be close to that $3,000 mark. Oh boy.
I know about that, but I'm not saying nothing. But yeah, here's my other folding phone.
Is that the Pixel?
Did I show you my Did I show you my international folding phone?
I want it.
Folding phones are very popular everywhere except for North America, y'all. Yeah. The second you get out of here, it's wait a second, you got a regular phone? Your phone doesn't fold? That's the rest of the world, y'all.
I want the Apple folding phone. I will have it. Warts and all, Gen 1, I will have it.
Oh, I'm already buying more stock in Apple prepared for it because this thing is about to pay me.
I need another split before I'll buy. I'd love another split though.
And disclaimer, this is not financial advice. Make your own financial decisions.
Yes.
I am not a financial advisor. I am a guy on the internet.
Yes. But dear Apple, please split one more time. RJ, where do you see any predictions with further couponization brand partnerships? Any direct predictions, or what are you thinking here?
So I think with Capital One has bigger fish to fry than putting coupons on their cards. Like they just have to figure out so much more because of the Discover merger that I don't necessarily see a ton of coupons coming to them because that is energy that they are taking away from dealing with the Discover mess. For Citi and Wells, I think like they want people to use their cards. Ultimately, the only reason coupons are there is to get people to sign up for cards and to get people swiping them. If the internal metrics for Citi and Wells are 72% of people who have our cards or have the double cash or the active cash use that card 4 or 5 times a week, they might not need to put a coupon on it, right? Like you put coupons on the platinum because the platinum is 1x except for the airlines. So you put it there to get people to use that card who might not usually be swiping that card. That's what the coupons are for. The coupons are not because these companies really love Dunkin' Donuts or DoorDash. They're there partly for partnership because cross promotion is good, but also because they want people to use the cards. So it really, Citi and Wells Fargo, it's really going to depend on what their internal numbers are for people using their cards. Because if their data says that we don't really need to do this until we get into the upper echelon, so, you know, the Wells Fargo Beyond, when that comes out, maybe it will because people expect the way that Chase and Amex are moving, people expect there to be a certain level of return for that annual fee other than just holding this card. Like status alone, things like that alone aren't what people are, quote, looking for. So at that point, you're going to add some coupons just so people feel like they're getting that annual feedback. But I think otherwise, if their data is saying we don't have to do this to get people to use our cards, they might not. They might reasonably not. Like a lot of the catch-all cards you don't actually see with a lot of coupons because people use those cards. Like people use the Blue Business Plus a lot. They use the Double Cash, the Active Cash a lot. They use the Freedom Unlimited a lot because they're the catch-all cards. So they don't need the coupons. It's the higher end cards that you're not going to necessarily think about swiping that get the coupons typically to get you to use them. So if we used our cards more, there would be less coupons. So unfortunately, because they're 1x for everything, most people don't want to take the haircut on half a point or a full point per dollar to do that. If you're like Lonnie and can stack 75x every time he goes to Adidas, maybe you don't need that.
No, I completely agree. I think first and foremost, if you want to avoid couponization, Citi, Wells, you have a very unique opportunity to attempt, and I don't necessarily will expect that you will succeed, but you could attempt to create the everything card. You're gonna lose, you're gonna take a loss on it, but A City Strata Elite that is 5x dining, whatever in their portal, 3x on gas, and 2x everything else would be huge, right? Keep bringing back the prestigious 5x on dining, 3x on gas, so you have an elevated gas multiplier. Yeah, you lose groceries, but like it's a travel card, it's not a grocery card. You have other strata cards that you could have that you could move your points over from with grocery, but it's 2x everything. Now I don't need to carry a double cash. I've got a no foreign transaction fee, double cash in my wallet. That's also my premium travel card. Would they also have to include some other credits on the card that would be more standard, like a $300 generic travel credit? Like all your travel for $300 is reimbursed back to you on City. Yes. And then they could start at 550 with that card. A City Strata Elite that was 5x dining, 3x gas, 2x everything is the talk of YouTube for the first month and a half, especially given City's transfer partners, and even more especially if City actually lands the plane with American Airlines. Don't know if they're capable of landing that plane. It's been 38 years. It's a really long holding pattern over JFK. It's amazing that the only nuclear power plane ever is just floating around JFK right now. That is American Airlines, just waiting to be a transfer partner with the city. Wells Fargo, you could do the exact same thing. Have a really kick-ass 5x category, do an interesting 3x category, have a 2x catch-all. Yes, you're eliminating the need for the active cash. No big deal. There's folks who would carry the active cash on their person in the States and then carry this autograph beyond that was a 2x catch-all with no foreign transaction fee outside of the country. Why? Because we could tell them how to put together their wallet, put a relatively strong travel credit on it, put good multipliers on it. City and Wells should be trying to do we're going to take a loss on these cards for a little while, and Wells is taking a loss on another card. Don't worry about it. Take a loss on these particular cards because they're going to be so overpowered that everyone and their mother will sign up for this card. And they'll pay the 550 annual fee. And if we have to give back $300 on that 550 annual fee, they'll do it. City and Wells right now, they're in the position where Chase was when they introduced the Sapphire Reserve, where American Express was when they made that first answer to the Sapphire Reserve, where you can still do a lot in terms of getting back strong and really good value. Now you have to make a card that is so ridiculously overpowered compared to the other ones. You're going to take a loss. Know that you're going to take a loss, but you're going to create so much goodwill for your brand that you don't have to worry about adding in what's next. Grubhub? Who's going to grab the Grubhub credit every month? That's not American Express. Who's going to get the Seamless credit? Are you going to partner with Waymo because Uber is getting closer and closer to American Express and there's no way to stop it? Are you going to try to cut in on Chase and Lyft? No. Then what's your rideshare partner? Who knows? Right? There's one in New York City that I think is called Revel. There's Waymo. I don't even know any other ride shares, right? Are you going to try and like partner with some electric vertical takeoff and landing taxi company that like drives everywhere? No. Like, what other options are like City, Cap One, and Wells will be left fighting for scraps or trying to make deals with the same sort of deals that Chase and American Express have, but they're not going to get most favored nation status that Chase and American Express already have with the Lyfts, the Ubers, the DoorDashes of the world. Now you've got to like maybe make something work with Grubhub, and you don't have a rideshare option. So do a generic rideshare credit, and now it's more money out of your pocket compared to making that partnership. I don't know. I personally think that your partnership should be we're going to give you free membership and we're going to give you elevated earnings. So yeah, it's coming out of both of our pockets, but you're going to get a better experience across the board. Would be the way that I would approach it if I was at Capital One, if I was at Citi, if I was at Wells Fargo, if I was at any other bank that was looking to jump into travel, because I don't think those are three banks. I think there's more banks that would love to get into the travel game as well. Like PNC would love to jump in and become more of a national player. I'm sure Citizens would love to get out of regional bank status. Huntington would love, I'm sure, would be a great bank to get out of the Midwest. Like their cards, they have one card, but it's a ridiculously strong card. If they went into travel, they could do well. the coupon wars are here. Like, I did a little 4-part mini-series on my channel, like, explaining. They're here, man. Chase and Amex are leading the way. Capital One will probably jump in and bungle it. Citi, I don't know what side of the bed Citi, like what part of Harvey Dent Citi is going to be at any given time. They're just going to flip a coin and go with God. Wells Fargo would just be best to kind of stay out of the fray on it because they already have a bad reputation. They got to fix their reputation, which is silly and stupid, but it is what it is. I don't know, but Citi, make the Strata Elite like a 2x catch-all, and Wells, make the Autograph Beyond a 2x catch-all. You'll land so many new customers. At least me. Can't speak for my colleagues. All right. So that's going to do it for questions. Any final thoughts, Lonnie?
No. I would say if I had a final thought, it's by the time you're listening to this, we'll know if the Sapphire Reserve information came out on Tuesday or not. So stay tuned for that. And also, when someone says they know it's going to change on the Amex Platinum, no, they don't.
Nope.
So I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there right now. No, they don't. No, they don't. Let's not start this whole rumor sinkhole again for the next 6 months, please. No one knows. All right.
The annual fee is going up. I will know that for fact, Lonnie.
Hand on heart, yes, the annual fee is going to go up. How high the annual fee is going to go up, we don't know.
Different story.
Unless, of course, if you happen to work at American Express and you know me, please contact me. Let me know.
But that's all I got.
Thanks, Lonnie. RJ, any final thoughts?
It is 1:27 a.m. on the 17th, and the Chase website has not updated yet. So, as of 1:27,
hour and a half.
Yeah, as of 1:27, no news. So if you're listening to this in a couple of days and you're like, why do they act like this news hasn't dropped? Because in recording time, it has not dropped yet. I just wanted to plug that before somebody made a comment about the fact we're not talking about the big news.
Yep. To that end, should Tuesday be Sapphire Day? This is Tuesday the 17th, which we are now recording on because we start our recordings on the 16th. Started our recording on the 16th. It bled into the 17th. This is every week for us. We do this for you. If news drops on the 17th, I have at least one live scheduled with Joe Barretto at 1 o'clock to go over the Sapphire Reserve changes and the Sapphire business details. I am certain I'm going to drop a video at some point during the day about the Sapphire Reserve changes and the Sapphire business details. And I think there's a third card. I will likely be wrong. I'm going to try to coordinate some time with Lonnie to do a recording on Tuesday, and RJ and I may go live with a special Stack Your Live going over the details. So if Tuesday is in fact Sapphire Day, I'm going to be a very busy child. But if Tuesday is not Sapphire Day, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's just Matt sitting alone in the corner facing the wall, just rocking back and forth.
Fetal position and all. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Stack Your Points. You can always check us out at stackyourpoints.com. That has everything you need for the Stack Your Points experience. Join the Discord through the website. You can contact us through the website. You can leave questions on the videos that drop. We drop videos on YouTube on Wednesdays and Fridays. We do a live on Thursdays. May do a special live tonight. Who knows? We also drop mini episodes for the mailbag and topics Mondays and Tuesdays. So be on the lookout for those. But subscribe to the channel, hit and subscribe. We are quickly approaching 500 subscribers. That would be huge. And check
which brings in members only.
Yes.
That opens up members only.
If you've been waiting for members only, get 93 of your friends to click subscribe. We also release on the podcatcher of your choice on Saturday mornings. So, yeah. Check us out, stackpoints.com. Lengthy pitch there, but talk to you guys soon, and we will see you next week.